I'm going to talk about The Great Man on DVD and Blu-ray. Mostly DVD. So stick around. Hi folks, Old Man Grognard here, and I want to talk to you a bit about W.C. Fields. William Claude Ducanfield, also known as W.C. Fields. Bill to his friends. And, you know, Zutay, I think he's he's getting to be the forgotten comedian as far as classic, iconic comedians from the golden age, you know? I mean, Laurel and Hardy is enjoying a renaissance right now because of the movie Stan and Ollie. Chaplin's always been revered. Keaton's always been loved. Seems like everybody loves the Three, either like him or him, the Three Stooges. Abbott and Costello has a good following now. Marx Brothers, you know, they're still popular. But Fields has gone kind of fallow, or whatever you want to call him. And it's kind of a shame because looking back on his films, I recently got another DVD of his. Looking back on his films, he really is a master comedian. I mean, he is probably one of the most, yes, he's pretty much a curmudgeon, but he's probably the most subtle, one of the most subtle comedians I've ever seen. Just watching his stuff. He had kind of, I don't want to say he had a sporadic career, but it had some starts and stops, and he was done by about 1941, beginning of the war years, and he did a few guest spots in other films after his last film, but it was mostly just guest spots, and you know, he was on radio too and things like that, but he pretty much, you know, he died too young, I thought, and I think he really needs to be reappraised and reappreciated. Let me show you what we got on DVD. You've got some shorts, you've got a lot of feature films. And these here, there are some short films. When he was getting started in the 30s, he did some short films for Max Sennett, sound films, and they're almost like a taste of what's to come, because I find them quite funny. And you can find them in several collections. I think they're in the public domain. So you're going to find these all over in cheap sets and things like that. This is my favorite, and I believe this is out of print. This is the Criterion Collection, 6 short films with W.C. Fields. And it was done, I don't remember when it was done, probably the late 90s, their first foray into DVD, I think. And it contains those 4 films he did for Sennett, plus The Pool Sharks, which was his first film, a silent film. He was a silent film star too. And it also has The Golf Specialist, which I believe was his first sound film. He was still wearing this clip-on mustache at the time he used to wear on stage, but he got rid of that. But this has, like I said, The Golf Specialist and Pool Sharks, The Pharmacist, The Fatal Glass of Beer, The Barbershop, and The Dentist. The Barbershop, The Dentist, and The Pharmacist is pretty much prime Fields. The Fatal Glass of Beer I have a particular fondness of. Only because, well, it's one of those things where it was reviled when it came out. So there's a lot of people who still don't like it. I love it. I think it's the funniest, most subtle thing he's ever did. It was based on a sketch he did in the Ziegfeld Follies. And it is a parody of melodramas. And I just watch it and go, his reaction, his deadpan reactions are priceless in this. That's all I got to say. Okay, what else do we have? Okay, now, he's done about 18 feature films. Now, this is what I first found. This is the W.C. Fields Comedy Collection, volumes 1 and 2. Each of these have 5 films on them. Volume 1 has The Bank Dick, My Little Chickadee, You Can't Cheat an Honest Man, It's a Gift, and International House. Volume 2 has You're Telling Me, The Old-Fashioned Way, Man on the Flying Trapeze, Poppy, and Never Give a Sucker an Even Break. This has been my go-to for quite a while. That's not his whole input, but that's like the nut of it. That's the core of his feature film input right there. Now, one I didn't even know came out about 5-6 years ago that I didn't even know Universal released, and I highly recommend. This one is W.C. Fields' Comedy Essentials Collection, because this contains all 18 of his films, starting with, like, what do we got? $1 Million Legs, If I Had a Million, International House, Tilly and Gus, Alice in Wonderland, Six of a Kind, Mrs. Wiggs of the Cabbage Patch, You're Telling Me, The Old-Fashioned Way, It's a Gift, Mississippi, Man on the Flying Trapeze, Poppy, The Big Broadcast of 1938, You Can't Cheat an Honest Man, My Little Chickadee, The Bank Dick, and Never Give a Sucker an Even Break. So it's got all the films that are on these in this one package. The reason I hang on to these right here is because for the films that are on there, they're not as compressed or compressed at all, because each is a 5-disc set, and it has one film on each disc. This has like 3 or 4 films over 5 discs. So you're not going to get the compression and such. And so I hang on to this because there's a lot of, like, Tilly and Gus. You bet you didn't know he was in Alice in Wonderland. The 1933 black and white one, not the Disney one. No, he was Humpty Dumpty in there. I remember that. That was kind of an all-star thing that Paramount did. But Fields' character, it's like he has 2 sides of the character. Either he's a total curmudgeon and charlatan and con man, or he's this very, very, very put upon and just can't get a break type of guy. But it's funny, even in that persona, he can still grumble and growl over his breath, under his breath, and but he's in that guard, like in It's a Gift or Man on the Flying Trapeze, he's always constantly henpecked, but things turned out better in the end. I prefer his con man persona. Man on the Flying Trapeze I watched once. I don't think I'm ever going to watch it again because it was a little too much. It's a Gift is funny because it's almost like a blend of the two. Because when he's with his family, he's this guy, henpecked type browbeaten guy. But when he's in his store, he tries to be, the grocer, but he's irascible, and he has to deal with things, and he's got this idiot assistant that he has to deal with, and other things like that. So it's wonderful. Also, if you get this, pay attention to the film The Old-Fashioned Way, because that is kind of a throwback where he plays the head of this traveling acting company who put on The Drunkard. And this is like in the turn of the century, it's that back then. But near the end, you get a taste of his act that he did on stage, his juggling act, because he was a master juggler and pool player. There's also a pool scene in, I believe, You Can't Cheat an Honest Man and Poppy, or I think it was Poppy. But yeah, he was a master pool player, and he was a trick pool player, and he was just a fantastic juggler. You get to see some of that. Anyway, W.C. Fields, go find him. He looks like this. So go look for those, and I'll try and put links on there if I can find them. And until I see you folks next time, bye-bye.